I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com and part 2 of a pretty interesting dogfight between big and small. Droid Incredible 4G LTE, Galaxy Note starts right now, but before we jump into it, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with all kinds of devices for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working, they'll get your settings ready to go, they'll get everything set up, all your programming done, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go and you can have fun with Sense 4 or S-Memo capabilities depending on which device you decide to buy. It's Dogfight time, part 2 of the Droid Incredible 4G LTE Galaxy Note Dogfight kicks off right now. We're back in part 2 of a pretty interesting dogfight battle between two very different Android phones. They're both powerful, they're both high-end, at least in terms of a lot of different features. For example, we've got the Droid Incredible 4G LTE over here. It's a member of HTC's 2012 device lineup, so it goes head-to-head against a couple of other HTC devices. The 1X, the 1S, kind of fits right there in their lineup of devices. That said, it's a little bit less powerful than the HTC 1S. It's packing a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor, S4 processor, as opposed to a 1.5 gigahertz processor that comes in the 1X and the 1S. It's got a little bit of a different design as well. Looks a lot like a thinner HTC Resound, so it's got that kind of Verizon Droid feel to it. It does have Beats audio integration, but kind of got a Droid feel to it, or much like a Resound. It's a little bit smaller as well. 4-inch display. It doesn't have a 4.3-inch display like the 1S does, and unfortunately, it's got no image capabilities in comparison to the 1S and the 1X. It doesn't have the image sense capabilities. So if you're somebody that likes those burst shots, it's got a great camera by all means, but doesn't have that capability. Then you have the Samsung Galaxy Note over here, and in the cell phone world, it's a little bit of an older device. It's got a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S3 processor, so spec-wise, kind of outdated. That said, it's kind of like the Lexus of smartphones in a lot of features because of the 5.3-inch Super AMOLED HD display. So I think when you look at these, if you're comparing these devices between each other, I think you're going to have to look at buying like a new car versus a used car with better specs out of the gate. That's kind of the image I get here. So Galaxy Note, bigger display, great for browsing the web, great for YouTube, and more. And speaking of that, let's load up YouTube just so you can see what I'm talking about here and show you the comparison differences here between video on this and perhaps, we saw the internet part in part 1. You can see 4-inch display, not that big in comparison. So we'll bring up like a Phone Dog video, for example, just so you can see what I'm talking about here. Phone Dog. And let's load it up. And so we'll bring in red Samsung Galaxy S3, for example, just since it's the first video, and take a look when you bring it over into landscape mode, how this screen really impacts, browsing the web and looking at videos. So you can see right here. It's hands-on time with another Samsung Galaxy S3. This time around, it's AT&T's red Galaxy S3. It just came in literally like a minute and a half ago. I walked. And so you can really see the comparison between video on this versus perhaps browsing the web. I mean, look at the screen difference, 4 inches to 5.3. So if you're somebody that likes browsing the web, looking at music videos, checking out YouTube, the Note might be your device. It's available now on AT&T, coming soon to T-Mobile, although the new T-Mobile version is still packing the same old processor. So let's load up S-Note. So this has Ice Cream Sandwich, Android 4.0, and if you remember older videos, it's obviously had S-Memo since it came out, but S-Note is a new feature that's part of Samsung's premium application suite. And so we'll come in here and take a look at, maybe a new, what can we do? Maybe like a new, let's think. Come in here and we'll go back from search. And let's get out of the search. And we're going to start a new document here because I want to show you some of the new features of S-Note. They've really taken S-Memo, made it more robust with a lot of cool features. So I'll show you a couple of my favorites, for example. One is the ability to kind of clean up shapes. So if you're somebody like me that takes notes, maybe you're in a meeting or perhaps you're in a class, for example, and you're doing geometry or you're doing something where you want shapes, you'll notice that it'll immediately trim up and fix my shapes. Triangle, obviously. Let's do like a square. And one of my favorites is to do the squares. Let's see if I can do it and see if I can connect all the different, there you go. So you can see it cleans up the shapes. Another one of my favorites, handwriting to text. And so we'll bring up handwriting to text here so I can say, hey. And this is obviously not, there we go, there. I find that it does a pretty decent job with cursive. Then you have knowledge search, which I can type in like, how old is Bill Gates? And it'll bring up Bill Gates. Then I have a formula match as well. So I can bring in 5 plus 6. And that's obviously a pretty easy formula. But I can do those and I can search for it, or I can insert 5.6 or 5 plus 6 rather into the document itself. So much more robust and much more all around easier to use and great for things like classes, meetings, and things like that. So that's a pretty cool feature. You don't get that over here, but the pen is obviously another value add in the Samsung Galaxy Note. What you do get over on this device, a much faster everyday performance thanks to it having an S4 processor, despite the fact that it's clocked a little bit slower. You can tell that there's little to no lag on this device. Pinch to zoom is relatively responsive. You get 7 home screens on both of these, and you can just kind of see the lag just then as a result of the S3 processor as opposed to the S4 over here. So we can bring up all, for example, and we'll come over here and check out settings. And we'll go in here because I want to show you some of the personalization choices over here as well. You can change the skin, the scene, and more. So I can go into skin, for example, and see aluminum. I can see HTC, serene, matte, and more. And unfortunately, Verizon's disabled the access to HTC Hub. So it's not like you can come in here and download additional skins or additional wallpapers. But what you do get the capability to do is choose from the existing ones on the device itself. Then you have scenes and wallpapers and different lock screen styles. So you can see here I can set the weather as I have right now, where I can see Charlotte weather and my shortcuts. I can change it to friend stream, I can change it to stock quotes, various clocks, and more. So that's a pretty cool little feature, and you know, HTC's always done a really good job with personalization and when it comes to selecting widgets as well. HTC's got some great widgets in here, and most of theirs are customizable, so they finally caught up with Samsung and some of the other manufacturers, Motorola's user interface, for example, in making their own widgets customizable as opposed to just the Google widgets or just the widgets in Android 4.0. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Recent applications, just kind of walking you through some of the differences here. You can see S Note, I can easily remove them on the Note just like that. And then over here, HTC's kind of done their custom build of recent applications here where it looks a little bit different, but this is all part of HTC Sense version 4. So let's load up Quadrant Standard while we're thinking about it, and I'll talk a little bit about call quality. Quadrant Standard loading up right now. We'll run the benchmark on both. Call quality's been pretty impressive on both of these devices. The earpiece is nice and loud. There's been little to no lag in terms of connecting the calls and things like that. I've been relatively impressed. The overall, speedier device between these two is very clearly the Droid Incredible 4G LTE. I've actually been working with these kind of side by side, and in day-to-day use, the Incredible 4G LTE is noticeably faster. That said, what frustrates me about the Incredible 4G LTE is, as a potential Verizon customer, you walk in the door and you're like, okay, T-Mobile's got the 1S, AT&T has the 1X. Both of these devices are very clearly spec'd better than the Incredible 4G LTE. And if I walk over to AT&T, I can get a 1X for $100. Why is this still $149.99? Or why is it, even higher? Even if it were $99, why can I buy this for $99 at Verizon, for example, when I can get a 1X for the same price? I think that's really the issue that Verizon customers may be going through. You want that 1X, it's a great device. You don't want to switch to AT&T maybe, but then this thing's $150. It's just a little bit crazy. I would have loved to have seen them bring the 1X to Verizon, or maybe the 1S, and maybe a slightly different form factor. Heck, do this device, but with the 1S features, like image share and things like that. Or image sense rather, and things like that. So Quadrant Standard running right now, you got a nice 4,192 speed over here, 3,307 over here, and you get this beautiful HD display. As you can kind of see the color differences as a result of this being an HD display as opposed to this being a QHD display. So you can see there. Let's take a look as well, personal information management. This is an area where HTC pretty clearly wins each and every time. So forgive me while I pull this out really quickly so I can actually see it. There we go. So Bill Stevenson. Let's do Bill Stevenson. Let's load up Bill Stevenson, for example, just to look at kind of the differences when it comes to personal information management. So you can see same picture over here, same mobile number, same ringtones, things like that. But what I like about the Incredible 4G LTE and kind of on a bigger picture, HTC Sense version 4 is this cool little feature called Thread. Now you can scroll between Thread and Updates and Gallery, but where I like Thread is, I can come in here, and this happens to me all the time. I'm like, when did I last text message John Doe? When did I last call him? When did I last send him an email? Or things like that. Unfortunately, Gmail doesn't integrate in the email due to API issues, but if you have your email set up as a typical email account, you can see emails, messages, and call history from all your contacts. That's a cool feature you don't get over here. You do get the ability, of course, to edit. You got your mobile number easily laid out, and it's clean and good looking over here, don't get me wrong, and obviously it's a benefit to have the larger display. That said, it's a much better all-around feature over here to have this personal information management. So HTC does a good job over there, and I've been really impressed with it. So obviously, last but not least, camera, 8 megapixels on both of these devices. The camera, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you. The camera on the Incredible 4G LTE is better. That said, unfortunately, you miss out on some of the cool features like image share, or image sense rather, that you get on the 1S and the 1X. So you can't take those burst pictures. They move pretty fast. If you press and hold, you can just shoot a couple of different pictures like that, and it's pretty quick and easy, but it doesn't have that burst mode that you get on the 1X and the 1S. So we'll bring over a picture here and take a quick look. And you can see it's a very clean, good looking picture, easy to understand, or easy to read rather. And you can see pinch to zoom, relatively responsive. Then you got this over here, and it takes decent pictures, but there is a noticeable difference to me between the incredible 4G LTE. HTC makes a good camera. Bam. I mean, I should say they install a good camera on their phones. And you can see there's the picture. Let me scroll back here. Somebody's laughing hysterically in the office. I feel like I should go laugh with them. And then, of course, you've got Google logo there you can clearly see. So nice to have the big display over here, but in terms of image quality it's better over here. That said, I wish I had the ability to do some of those cool features like burst mode and more that you get in the 1X and the 1S. Those are winning features. They're on other devices like the Galaxy S3, and I really enjoy those. So that said, the winner of the dogfight, and it's really hard here because you may want the smaller device. In that case, it's an awesome device in terms of overall features and functionality. That said, it frustrates me that the 1X and the 1S you have better features, and in the case of the 1X, it's now cheaper than the DROID Incredible 4G LTE. I feel like Verizon customers, they're kind of like, what in the world is going on? Then you have this device, great screen, love S-Memo, love the HD display, all around great package. Unfortunately, the processor is a little bit old in this, so when it comes to lag, I see a little bit more lag on the Galaxy Note. Now, the winner of the dogfight, when I declare these dogfight winners, it's all about a bunch of different things. It's about speed and screen and signal strength and overall call quality and camera and more. And when it all comes together, the winner of the dogfight is the Samsung Galaxy Note. The reason why, now if this were a battle between like the 1X or the 1S, it would have won. The processor is better over here. That said, the screen here, you got a killer HD display. It's absolutely beautiful in day-to-day use. Love the way this display looks, and I love the features like S-Memo and S-Note. They're really useful, and while you think they may be a gimmick, I'll tell you after using this device for 30 days as part of a 30-day challenge, I'm really impressed with those features, and I found myself like day 14, 15, 16, using those when I was taking notes, using those to do a quick to-do list, doing things while I was working out, jotting down some notes, things like that. It really is useful, and they brought it to the next level with S-Memo, and of course the ice cream sandwich update is pretty decent as well. That said, if you're like me and lag frustrates you, this thing is a little bit laggy. It's noticeably laggy in comparison to this device that's a workhorse on a regular basis. If they can knock the price down to this, or at least maybe get the 1X on Verizon, that'd be really nice. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com. Keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage, and be sure to follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Be sure to vote for your favorite phone in PhoneDog's official smartphone rankings as well at PhoneDog.com/rankings. Go tell me which one's your favorite and leave a review. Thanks so much for watching. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com between devices big and small, Android, Windows Phone, iOS, and Samsung and Apple, and more in this crazy world we call the smartphone market. Keep it locked on the site. We'll see you next time.